For a while now, different countries have been competing for world's strongest nation. There has been an endless debate on which country is the strongest and has the position of world power. In this video, we will be talking about the top 10 countries with the most powerful military forces. But first, like and subscribe to this channel, hit the notification button so you can be notified when we release new videos. Then sit back and relax. Number 10 on the list of the world's top 10 countries with the most sophisticated military forces is Turkey. The Turkish military is one of the strongest in the Eastern Mediterranean. Additionally, Turkey is a member of NATO and, after the United States, provides the organization with the second highest total count of permanent troops. Out of a total population of 81,257,239, there are 355,000 serving military members and 380,000 reserve personnel in the nation. As a result, it boasts the world's 15th highest active army population and the 17th highest reserve population. According to Global Firepower, Turkey's yearly military budget is presently equivalent to $19 billion. The Turkish military is comprised of the Turkish Land Forces, Turkish Naval Forces, and Turkish Air Forces. Number 9 on the list is the United Kingdom. By ensuring a safe and secure environment where all British citizens can reside and develop, the British Army safeguards the interests of the United Kingdom, both at home and abroad. 112,000 highly trained, dedicated, and experienced regular and reserve soldiers approximately represent the British Army. Statistics had it that over 148,000 people were employed by the British Armed Forces in 2022. The British Army, Royal Navy, Royal Air Force, and Royal Marines accounts for the UK's 4 military services. Over half of the 149,000 members of the UK Armed Services in 2021 were employed by the British Army, which had 82,000 men. The RAF was the next largest branch, with 33.2 thousand members, next by the Royal Navy having 27.21 thousand, and the Royal Marines, which had the lowest number members at 6.64 thousand, as the third largest branch. The UK Armed Forces had 64 ships and 10 submarines as of April 1, 2021, 51 vessels in the Royal Navy Surface Fleet, 13 vessels in the Royal Fleet Auxiliary. The UK Armed Services had 529 fixed-wing aircraft, 287 unmanned aircraft systems, and 311 rotary-wing aircraft as of 1 April 2020. Number 8 on the list is none other than the Italian Armed Forces. The Italian Army, Italian Navy, and Italian Air Force are all parts of the Italian Armed Forces. The Carabinieri, a fourth branch of the Armed Forces, serve as the country's military police and participate in tasks and operations abroad as a combat force. The Guardia di Finanza is structured along military lines and has military prestige while not being a branch of the armed forces. 340,885 men and women with the official status of active military personnel make up these 5 forces, of which 167,057 are in the Army, Navy, and Air Force. The President of the Italian Republic serves as the head of the armed forces. The Italian Armed Forces spends about $32 billion every year and has 340,885 active personnel, with 97,087 serving in the Army, 25,511 in the Navy, 40,059 in the Air Force, 173,828 in the paramilitary, and 18,300 reserve personnel. How would you like that for a personal army? For our number 7, we have the French Armed Forces. Despite its small size, the French military is well-trained, professional, and capable of deploying massive amounts of force. With the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier and periodic military deployments in Africa to support governments and combat terrorism, France is a key military actor. The French Armed Forces encompass the Army, the Navy, the Air and Space Force, and the Gendarmerie of the French Republic. The President of France heads the armed forces as Chief of the Armed Forces. France has the 6th largest defense budget in the world, and the first in the European Union, accounting for 56.86 billion US dollars, with over 208,700 active personnel, 35,000 reserve personnel, and 11,000 deployed. We can say that the French armed forces will give anyone a run for their money. Up next, we have South Korea. South Korea possesses a large number of submarines, assault helicopters, and active people to deal with any eventuality. This country also has a diverse tank fleet and the world's sixth largest air force. The country's overall population is 51,835,110, with a labor force of 25,917,555. South Korea has a substantial, well-equipped armed forces establishment that includes Army, Navy, and Air Force branches, albeit it is still significantly smaller than North Korea's. The Army is by far the most numerous component, with a substantial reserve force. Number 5. Japan. Japan is said to have the world's fourth largest submarine fleet. Japan's Navy also has 4 aircraft carriers. However, they are only outfitted with helicopters. Japan also boasts the fourth largest fleet of attack helicopters in the world, trailing only China, Russia, and the United States. The Japan Self-Defense Forces, usually known as the Japanese Armed Forces, are Japan's unified armed forces founded in 1954. The Japan Ground Self-Defense Force, Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, and Japan Air Self-Defense Force comprise the self-defense forces. They are overseen by the Ministry of Defense, with the Prime Minister serving as Commander-in-Chief. The Japanese Armed Forces has a yearly budget of $54.1 billion. There are 247,154 active personnel and 56,000 reserve personnel serving in the armed forces. For our number 4, we have the Indian Armed Forces. India has approximately 1,444,000 active military personnel. They have a long-running territorial conflict with Pakistan over Kashmir. According to Global Firepower, the country has the most tanks, 4,292, Town artillery, 4,060, and fighter aircraft, 4,056. In the world, 538. India's military spending is expected to exceed $61 billion this year. Over 23 million people reach military age each year. With this number, India confidently boasts of 1,455,550 active personnel and 1,155,000 reserve personnel. China sits at the 3rd position of the top 10 countries with the most sophisticated military forces in the world. She boasts the largest military in the world in terms of total manpower. China also possesses the world's 2nd largest tank and submarine fleets, trailing only Russia and the United States. China's military modernization efforts have also made significant progress in recent years. Ballistic missiles and 5th-generation aircraft are presently being developed, which could change the face of armed conflict in the near future. The China Armed Forces is made up of service units including service branches ROC Army, ROC Navy, ROC Marine Corps, ROC Air Force, ROC Military Police, ROC Armed Forces Reserve. As of 2022, the China Armed Forces is expected to spend a budget of $17 billion. The official enrollment age is 18 years, and China military has 165,000 active personnel and over 1.5 million in reserve. Hope you've enjoyed watching so far. Don't forget to watch till the end. Still in the top 10 countries with the most sophisticated military forces, Russia comes second. The Armed Forces of the Russian Federation, AFRF, also known as the Russian Armed Forces, are Russia's combined armed forces. In terms of active duty soldiers, they have the world's 5th largest military, with at least 2 million reserve personnel. Ground forces, Navy, and aerospace forces are among its branches, as are 3 autonomous arms of service: strategic rocket forces, airborne forces, and special operations forces. According to data, Russia possesses the most tanks in the world, 12,950, which is more than double the number of tanks possessed by the United States. On the ground, almost 1 million active people command 27,038 armored vehicles, 6,083 self-propelled artillery groups, and 3,860 rocket projectors. The defense budget of Russia is expected to reach $61 billion. Now for the number one country on the list, we have the United States of America. The United States Armed Forces are the country's military forces. There are 6 service branches in the Armed Forces: the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, and Coast Guard. The President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and develops military policy in collaboration with the Departments of Defense, DoD, and Homeland Security, DHS, both federal executive departments that serve as the primary organs through which military policy is carried out. All 6 armed forces are part of the United States' 8 uniformed services. The U.S. Armed Forces has over 17 million people available for service, with over 3 million reaching military age each year. There are over 1.5 million active personnel and 799,500 reserve personnel in the force. The United States Armed Forces has a budget of $782 billion for 2022, exceeding Russia's budget with over $600 billion. There you have it. We hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit like, the subscription button, and the notification bell to get notified when new videos are uploaded from this channel. Do well to share your thoughts about the top 10 counties with the most sophisticated military forces in the comment section below. Thank you.